This is Newsfeed AM. Let's pick up on this discussion now. Media freedom is once again under the spotlight as the private prosecution case brought by former President Jacob Zuma against Karyn Maughan continues. Zuma accuses the journalist of unlawfully publishing his medical records in relation to the arms deal trial. Yesterday, SANEF members protested outside the High Court in Pietermaritzburg in support of Karyn Maughan, saying media freedom is paramount in a democratic country. For more on this, let's speak now to the regional convener for SANEF in KwaZulu-Natal, Judy Sandison, who joins us from that province. Judy, good morning to you and thank you for your time. The importance of highlighting media freedom. Explain to us why it is that you decided that you were going to demonstrate outside the court.
Yes, it was a very important day for us yesterday for media freedom and for women journalists in particular who get targeted by cyberbullying and intimidation, as Karyn has been. And what we were picketing for was against the private prosecution of a journalist, the first time that's happened in our country. And why we're so concerned about it too is that it has the result of attempting to intimidate journalists who try to do their work, especially if they speaking truth to power. Karyn has an excellent reputation for integrity and professionalism and is strongly supported by News 24 and by the rest of us in the media. And in this battle, we also have lawyers. SANEF has lawyers that are friends of the court in this case, because it is a crucial one for media freedom and for the ability for all journalists around the country to do their work freely and fairly.
Yeah.
And we were very pleased to see that we had support from other pro-democracy organizations like Right to Know, and at least 12 others who expressed their support, as well as Pietermaritzburg Lifeline and Ray Prices, who do great work in gender justice.
A little earlier we spoke to Professor Anton Harber, who said that we possibly also need to look at this beyond the realm of journalism, and this is about South Africans' right to know or right to information. And therefore, the question perhaps becomes broader. How important is it for South Africans in general to go and demonstrate, just as you did outside the court yesterday?
Well, it's absolutely crucial. You can't have informed citizens to make informed choices if they don't have all the information. And if journalists are too scared or fearful to do their job, that's going to have a huge impact on the news realm. And apart from that, we have excellent self-regulation. We have the Press Council for online and newspaper complaints, and I serve as adjudicator on that, on the appeals with Judge Bernard Mwepe. We have an excellent reputation for being fair and ethical in our judgments, which sometimes go for online publications, sometimes against, often for the complainant. So there's that, and the Broadcast Complaints Commission. And these organizations have, especially the Press Council, has a mix of public and media sector representatives, the best of the industry who apply their minds. So we always say, if you have a complaint, because no one is perfect, there can be mistakes that slip through in news coverage. Start with the editor. If you don't get any joy, you've got the Press Council of BCCSA. Plenty of simple and free ways of hearing your voice, getting it heard. But if journalists are intimidated from doing their work, then citizens are not going to be able to make informed decisions about the issues of the day.
Yeah. Let's talk about the party, the governing party of the day, the ANC. It always tells us that it respects the right of journalists to practice their craft. How important is it that they are seen and heard to be speaking against what is happening to Karyn Maughan?
It's really important because it can happen to anybody. We have to protect our journalists. Our newsrooms are much smaller than they used to be. We've been through COVID, retrenchments, budget cuts. The journalists that are left work incredibly hard to do the best job they can under difficult circumstances. And they're really working for our democracy. And I remember when we first formed the South African National Editors Forum, And our first meeting with the sitting president was with Madiba, Nelson Mandela, and we had the meeting in Pretoria, and he was very strong about his support for media freedom. And a lot of leaders have said that from all parties over the years. But what we need is more action on the ground to support, for leaders to come out and say, don't harass journalists. Don't go to their homes like has happened in the past and try to intimidate and shout and bully and do all sorts of things that interfere with their work. Rather, follow the correct channels and you will be heard. But we have actually a very good reputation in the news media here for a free media and for a media that does listen to its audiences.
Well, I have to follow up and say, for as long as I can remember, since this case of private prosecution by former President Jacob Zuma against Karyn Maughan in particular was brought, I don't remember a single day that the governing party issued a statement saying they either support their former leader or they actually don't agree with what he is doing. You speak of the era of Madiba. Does that paint a different picture of the ANC that's in charge now?
Well, look, over the years as SANEF, I've been serving on the council for many years since it was founded, and we have meetings with different ministers, ministers of justice, ministers of police, and they give us a hearing, and sometimes it's very constructive, sometimes not. We do work on giving input to new legislation as well when we feel that interferes with rights to information, the public's right to information. So we do a lot of different kinds of work, and we do have, professional interaction with many ministers. But it is very disturbing that this year in particular, we're starting to see both physical attacks on journalists, like happened in Newcastle recently, by different political party councillors, and also in other instances. So we actually need to get a message across the public that we're here for the public too, and for political leadership across the board to assist us in getting that message across, that we're here for democracy, not for factional interests.
Final question to you, Judy. Has SANEF ever taken the time to actually examine what the former president has decided to do here, in particular that he claims to have had his medical records published by the journalist? Now, so far, what I have been told by News 24, including the leadership in that newsroom, is that there were no medical records published. Instead, there was a document in court that did not really go into specifics about what the former president is suffering from, and that piece of document was readily available to any other journalist that would have sought that information. So that's how far, or that's what News 24 at least has told this channel on the few occasions we have interviewed them. Have you ever taken the time to interrogate that? And if so, why then do you think the former president is doing what he's doing?
Firstly, yes, exactly, and that's why we briefed lawyers on it, and they are they put that case yesterday, and we're fully behind Karyn and News 24 on this, because we have taken the time to look into it thoroughly, and we put out statements on it too. Well, he will have to answer that, but I think what is unacceptable is the intimidation and cyberbullying that has followed, and that it is very unusual to have a private prosecution of a journalist, and perhaps aimed at getting her off the story or to stop reporters reporting on vital matters involving corruption or alleged corruption or anything like that. So it is not the route to follow.
Judy Sandison, let me thank you very much for your time. Convener of SANEF in the KwaZulu-Natal region. Thanks indeed for your time.